Let me share with you 3 of my best all-time driver videos. You know, driving doesn't have to be that complicated, especially when you get some of the secrets that I'm going to share with you here. Let's go and get started. Hey guys, great to have you here today, and I got a couple questions for you. Now I know everybody wants a beautiful swing. We'd all like to have our swing look really good on camera. What if I gave you 3 tips that could help your swing look really nice on camera? You could break it down in slow motion, but as a result, you're going to hit it 20, 30 yards shorter. I got a feeling you're probably not going to want to do that. How would you like to sit in your living room, making practice swing after practice swing, looking in the mirror, checking your swing, working really hard, going to the range, trying to hit positions that look really nice on camera, but then you go out to the course and you actually play worse than you did before? Well, I think that we all would agree that we don't want to have those things happen. Now, that's what we're going to talk about in this video. I think modern instruction is going that way. A lot of coaches out there are trying to make your swing look beautiful on camera. In the meantime, they're killing your distance and you're not actually hitting the ball any straighter or any more solid. I'm going to talk about 3 of these big myths out there, 3 of these tips that you may have heard before, how to avoid those, and then the correct thing to do to play your best golf. Okay, so piece number 1, one of the things that I see that's really killing people's distance, it makes it look nice on camera, is the idea of this short, compact swing, keeping in front of us. Man, that sounds good. When I hear about somebody talking about a short, compact swing, I think, man, that's good. I would like to have that. Well, the problem is, in order to create speed in the golf swing, we have to get a little bit more space and have a longer swing, especially, and this is a big key, especially if you're not very flexible. If you're not very flexible, you need to be doing everything you can to make your swing longer, looser, more free-flowing so you can get easier power. If you're already tight and you're trying to constrict that even more, you're going to really miss out on some distance. So let me talk about a couple of keys here that would be pretty important when you're doing this short, compact swing and why we don't want to do those. So one of the things that's very popular over the years has been to keep this left heel down. Now, some players can do this. If you take extremely flexible players, Adam Scott's like Gumby, Tiger Woods, extremely flexible. If you can put your hands and put your knuckles into the ground without bending your legs, you may be the kind of person that could keep that left foot down and still make a full backswing and get some pretty good power. If you're anything like me, I don't have that kind of flexibility. I gotta stay pretty loose, let that left heel lift a little bit so that I make sure I get a little bit more of a turn. Another thing is making sure that our head stays very still and stable on the ball. So when we do the first piece, if I keep my heel on the ground, I can go to about right here and I start to feel pretty tight. If I stay very laser focused on the ball, I don't want my head to move at all and to stay very, very still, that's going to also shorten up my swing. Look where my hands and my club are going there. That's not very far back. So me not being the most flexible person in the world, that's going to kill my distance. Let me go ahead and keep my left foot on the ground. I'm going to keep my head stable, and I'm going to have that idea that I'm going to make this short, compact, tight golf swing that in theory is supposed to help us be more accurate and more consistent and just an overall better golfer. Let me go ahead and hit one on my flight scope, and let's see what it says as far as my club head speed and my distance. I hit that one dead solid right down the middle. Couldn't really have hit one any better. So maybe it's up in the air as far as, could I be a little bit more consistent? Could I be a little bit more solid if I struck it that way? Maybe, maybe not. But my distance is going to fall off the map. So that's actually the way that I used to swing. I always try to keep my left heel down. I saw some guys on tour keeping their left heel down. I heard coaches promoting to keep the left heel down. Back in college, even on the mini tours, I swung about 112 miles an hour, 111, 12 miles an hour. That was pretty much my full swing. And that's exactly what I got here. I got 111.2 miles per hour. I hit that ball pretty solid, a little bit off the heel maybe. 257 carry, 278 total distance. Pretty good. Nice solid straight shot just down the left center. I mean, most players would think that's just all I got. And if I'm trying to keep my left heel firmly on the ground, I'm trying to keep my head steady, I'm trying to have that short, compact swing. I always thought of my swing as being short and compact because I bought into the idea that that's going to make it more consistent, but then it just sucks away all your distance. All of a sudden you lose 20 or 30 yards off the tee. So that's the first myth number 1. I actually found that once I started to loosen up my swing, because I'm a little bit more on the tight side, that actually got me a little bit easier distance. So now when I swing nice and easy, I'm actually a little bit more accurate, or decently more accurate than I was when I was short and tight, but I have another 20 yards because my swing feels a little bit easier. If I really want to go after one, I'm 30 yards longer than I used to be if I try to really get after it, and that helps for par 5s, trying to get there in 2. So the next thing that I want to talk about is having that shorter swing. So basically being where I'm going to go ahead and take a shorter, not ever go past parallel. And the way that I always used to play was I never wanted to see my driver farther than that. And I thought the shorter my backswing with my driver, the more accurate I'd be. Again, I would feel like I was still swinging pretty hard and not really getting over 111, 112. For you guys, depending on where you are, maybe that's 120 for you is your nice, compact, easy swing if you're super athletic. Or maybe if you're not quite as athletic, you're getting up a little bit in age, maybe your short, more compact swing is 90 miles per hour. So it doesn't really matter what your current speed is. If I'm a little bit shorter, I'm gonna feel like I have to put out more effort at the top of the swing and I'm gonna get lower speed. So if you look at that short, compact swing again, the one that I just did, that's exactly what you're gonna see. The club doesn't get to parallel. The third piece here, and the one that I think is actually probably most important, is you have to swing hard at the ball, especially when we're practicing. If you look at the guys that are really ripping it out there, your Rory McIlroys, your Dustin Johnsons, those guys are really taking an aggressive swing at the ball. Now, if you practice on the range, swinging 100% as fast as you can swing, what's gonna happen is your maximum speed is gonna start to go up and up. When you start to relax this left heel and make a bigger turn and let that club go a little farther back to parallel or past parallel, there's probably been more major champions that swing past parallel the last 100 years than there has been ones that swing short of parallel. What's gonna happen is your maximum speed is gonna start to go up and up and up. And then when I back off of that a little bit, let's say when I wanna actually play on the course, if I swing at 90% or 95%, which is what the pros are swinging at, they're not 100%, but even when I back off of it, that's gonna be higher than my normal playing speed. So if I practice this on the range and I try to go for speed, I start to learn where I can generate speed and how to generate speed, and I can get more playable speed from that too. So now let's go over those three concepts. Let's go one by one here. I'm gonna lead you through a specific practice plan. Don't sit here and just watch this video. If you're at your, sitting at your desk, stand up, grab a club. If you don't have a club, just mimic these swings and wait till you get to the range and hit some balls trying these same things. But we gotta stand up and do these. If we just listen to them, you're not gonna be any longer, we're not gonna play any better. So number one, let's talk about that left heel. Here's what I want you to do. The first thing I want you to do is go ahead and let that left heel lift. And what we'll see is I can get to about right here with that left heel firmly into the ground. If I loosen that heel up a little bit, I'm gonna notice that I can go another 10, 15 degrees with my shoulders. So if this is my shoulders, there's the left heel firm on the ground. As I loosen that up, I get a little bit extra. I wanna let my hips go ahead and rotate too. And I wanna let my arms go as high as I can. As I let that left heel loosen up a little bit, that can happen, and I can get that good club head speed doing that. So here's what I want you to do. 10 swings, let that left heel lift a couple inches off the ground, and then try to swing for maximum club head speed. So let's do 10 swings. I'm just gonna do 2 here to show you what this would look like. So lifting that left heel, big shoulder turn, and I'm gonna swing as hard as I can. Once I've done 10, and I get kind of familiar with how that would feel, now I wanna try to do that same thing hitting a golf ball. Now at first, this golf ball may go anywhere. I may hit it out of bounds right, I may top one. I don't care, I'm looking for maximum speed. So we start out around 111. Let's try now, let me make sure my radar is ready. Let's try out now. I'm gonna see if I can get at least 115. So I'm lifting that left heel. Instead of having that short compact swing, I'm thinking about my hands going really far back. Think Davis Love, think Bubba Watson, think all these great players throughout time, Jack Nicklaus, long, free-flowing swing. So let's see what that does when I try to give it a good rip for maximum speed. Again, not worrying where this ball goes. There we go. I actually hit that straighter than the one that I did before, and I would bet, I haven't looked at my radar yet, but I would bet $100,000 that that was more club head speed. Let's see what it spits out here. 121.3. 10 miles an hour more club head speed. The ball went straighter. It carried where the last one rolled out to, and I picked up about 20 yards. That was just over 300 yards, and I got about a 5 mile an hour wind into my face. I'm really happy with that. So again, 10 swings, practice swings, lifting the left heel 1 to 2 inches, letting the arms go as long as you can, and then finally, the final piece on that, did I go 90 or 80% swing speed? No, I went 100%. I'm actually gonna take it as a challenge to see if I can beat that 120. I wanna see if I can get 121, 122 to really break that. So I'm at 121.3. I'm gonna do everything within my power to get to at least 122 miles an hour here. If my swing gets a little loose, maybe my club goes past parallel, which we'll get to here in a second, I'm not worried about it. I'm just talking maximum swing speed, and I don't care where this golf ball goes. There we go. I felt like I swung a little harder. Let's go ahead and see what the radar says here. Again, right down the pipe. What you guys are gonna find is if you put out a lot of effort, you actually have a little bit more control. Maybe the first few go kind of crazy, but once you get the feeling for the timing of it, it's actually just as consistent as your more controlled swing. It just goes a heck of a lot farther. 121.7, so I only picked up about a half a mile an hour club head speed. Didn't hit it quite as solid, a little off the toe, but again, 286, not too bad. Now let's go ahead and try to get one a little past parallel. So this is a big one when we start thinking about these short, compact swings. I don't mind if your swing is short as far as the club, as long as you're making a good turn going back, as long as you're doing the other things correctly. But what I've found, since so many players struggle to get the maximum distance that they can, what I found is let's go ahead and get it a little bit longer. I think what you'll see, you'll pick up a few miles an hour club head speed, but in reality it's gonna go about as straight as it did before. So this one, I'm gonna go ahead, again, 10 practice swings. I'm combining lifting that left heel, getting that high hand path, and I'm gonna go ahead and let that club get a little past parallel. Again, does it look perfect on camera? No, it doesn't look perfect on camera. Does that matter? Not if you're hitting it 20 yards farther and it's still in the middle of the fairway. I would much rather be 20 yards in front of my buddies in the fairway with a little long backswing than I would having this really pretty swing and shooting 5 strokes higher. So let's go ahead and try to ramp up the speed a little bit more, letting the club go just a little bit long. And again, like I said, this isn't a crazy thing. There's tons of players that gone past parallel in their backswing and won major championships. This is what the pros are already doing. It's just all the new instruction is kind of coaching this out of the game and killing people's speeds. So let's go ahead and try to go a little bit long with the shaft on this one and combine that with the bigger shoulder turn and the heel lift. I know I made a little bit more distance there. Again, it's not going to look perfect on camera, but I swung a little faster. 124.7, that's pretty good for me. That's getting near as close as I can go. I overdrew that one a little bit, didn't hit it perfect, but I still got 307 yards of distance. Again, that would be left center fairway, left side of the fairway. Not really losing a ton of accuracy. Now you're gonna get to where if I just swing all out 100% as hard as I go, you may lose some accuracy. But again, we're trying to get that top number up and then you can tone it down from there. You don't have to swing 100% every time. You just have to practice at 100%. Then when you get on the course, your 90% is gonna be faster than it ever was before. So 10 swings, lifting the left heel, thinking of that long, free-flowing swing. All right, so to recap, we're gonna go 10 swings, 10 practice swings, lifting the left heel, thinking of a long, free-flowing swing, really letting those arms get back there. Then we're gonna hit a couple balls going for maximum speed, 100% effort on each one of these. Then we're gonna do 10 swings where we still do the heel lift and the long, free-flowing swing, and we're actually gonna let that club get a little past parallel. Again, not gonna look perfect on camera, but if you drive it 20 yards farther, you hit it just as solid, just as straight, who cares? Play with it. So 10 practice swings doing that, then we're gonna hit a few balls, again, just going for maximum club head speed. Now when you take it out to the course, all I want you guys to do is the exact same thing. You can just tone it down a little bit. You don't have to lift the left heel way up, just soften it up a little bit so it comes barely off the ground. Your club doesn't have to come way past parallel, but if it goes a little bit past parallel, that's completely fine. Now let's be honest, everybody wants to hit a big ball, and it doesn't matter if you're driving at 200 yards right now or 300 yards right now. One of the easiest ways to pick up strokes, to get to the par 5s into, to have short irons into par 4s, is to hit the ball farther. So adding 20 or 30 yards to your drives would lower your score as quickly as anything out there. Now if we're gonna hit it far, there's no point in working on anything else until we can get the hips moving correctly. So the very first piece, and what I was told kind of growing up and what was kind of in vogue, what was popular then, was to keep this right knee really flexed, not let that move at all, and I'm gonna keep that flex all the way in the backswing. Now when you do that, that ends up locking up your hips a little bit. Very difficult to get your hips to rotate unless you're super, super flexible, which I'm not, you're probably not. you're not gonna get those hips to rotate very much keeping that knee locked. Now the idea there and why it was popular then is because that's gonna help you to get this big stretch between your upper and lower body. Well, that's great in theory, but you can get that same amount of stretch if you go ahead and let your hips turn. You're still gonna just get more shoulder turn. The distance between your hips and shoulders will be the same. You're just gonna wind up a whole heck of a lot better. So getting that right leg to go ahead and straighten up, getting those hips to turn in the backswing is one of the biggest distance keys that you can have. So as I set up here, instead of keeping this right leg locked like this, a lot of flex in it here, I'm gonna go ahead and feel like in my backswing that leg can straighten up. I wanna go ahead and let my knee straighten this way. Now when you're looking at this, what that ends up doing is it allows my hip to turn back behind my body. The more my hips turn, the more power I can get. We're looking from down the line, you're gonna see the same thing. Now it's not a sway, it's not this. I'm turning my hip. I imagine somebody had a rope tied to my hip and they're standing back there. They're pulling that rope and getting me to turn. Look at this big hip turn now. Now I'm gonna make that big backswing like a Justin Thomas or Davis Love III without even really having to think about it too much, even if I'm limited a little bit in my flexibility. So that's piece number one. I wanna make sure that in the backswing, I get those hips to rotate. Let's go ahead and try one out here. I'll go ahead and give it a good rip, make that big, free, big hip turn in the backswing. There we go, hit that one pretty hard. And I really felt like on the backswing, I gave myself plenty of time. Again, don't rush this. Give yourselves plenty of time to let those hips turn and then come on through to a good full finish. Now, piece number two is I can't get a big hip turn and then just stay back there, right? I don't wanna get this big hip turn and then just stop on my downswing. I wanna get that big hip turn and then on my downswing, I wanna get my hips to open from the down the line view. That's what a lot of people call the two-cheeker, meaning that when I come to contact, you can see both cheeks here when you're looking from behind. Now, that's exactly what all the great players have. That's what all the pros have. But again, a lot of this comes down to what you're doing with your knees. If my knees stay square to the target in my downswing, like a lot of players, what I'll do is I'll stand up, I'll flip this club, and my hips won't rotate very much. So that would be kind of square knees. What I want you to feel like these knees are kind of like a piston. In the backswing, here's my right knee, here's my left knee. In my backswing, my knees do this. As this leg straightens and it allows my hip to turn, this leg comes forward. So this leg's going that way, this knee's going back, this knee's going forward. In the downswing, I'm doing the exact opposite. My knees are going that way. So again, this right knee is coming forward toward this camera. This left knee is straightening and getting out of the way there. I want to see a little space in here as my legs come through to allow my hips to open. That's the only way you're going to get the two-cheeker, is if you get a little space in your knees coming this direction. So in the backswing, think you want a little bit of space, meaning that as I turn, I should be able to take my golf club and put it through my knees there and have plenty of space. In the downswing, as I come through the shot, I should be able to take a club and do the exact same thing. What we want to guard against is locked right knee in the backswing and then a stand up. In both those cases, I wouldn't be able to put a club. My knees would be in the way of each other. I wouldn't be able to slip my club through there. So let's do a few practice swings now where I feel like in the downswing, my knees do this and I really get opened up as I'm coming through there, just like we're seeing with the pros. So we've done a few back swings. We're gonna do 5 or 10 reps in the downswing and then really commit to getting that good full finish as you swing on through. All right, pretty nice drive there. 301. Not even loosened up there a little bit, not my best club head speed, but a perfect smash, meaning I hit it really nice and solid, and it's very easy to do. So this is my brand new, just testing out this Ping G425. Pretty excited to hit some of the first shots with this. Let's talk about how you're gonna get some power. How are you gonna make the driver swing easy? You know, if you wanna hit it far, that's great, but how do we do it in an easy way? Well, one of the mistakes that I see is players have been told, and I used to feel the same thing myself, is to keep that right elbow kind of tucked in and down in the backswing. And what happens is when I tuck that elbow in the backswing, it ends up kind of cutting off my shoulder turn. So I almost used to feel like when I hit it much shorter and much more inconsistent than I do now, I'd feel like I didn't really move that elbow much in the backswing. I just kind of folded it up and then I just let it go. Felt really consistent. It felt like it was a very simple move, but I just didn't have the power, and it really wasn't any more consistent. It's actually less consistent than my swing now. So I felt like I'm just gonna bend that right arm early, keep the elbow tucked in the backswing. The reason I did this is because I always heard, well, you wanna have that elbow tucked in the downswing, so I figured, well, it's easier to tuck it in the backswing and just keep it there than it is to do it the other way, but that just kind of sucks away all your power. What you wanna feel like is you wanna feel like almost like you're reaching up and there's almost a hammer up here. And I'm gonna go ahead and grab that handle of the hammer way above my head. I can let my elbow fly out away from my body like Jack Nicklaus and hundreds of other players that have played on the PGA Tour that are fantastic ball strikers. Now I've got all this space and all this width, and from there, then I'm gonna rotate through. And it's actually that opening up and that rotating that drives the elbow in and keeps it tucked at your side in the downswing. So we don't wanna feel like we tuck it and rotate like this in the backswing and don't really make a turn. I wanna get loaded up, get that hammer up here, and then rotate in the downswing. That's what's gonna tuck it in there. That's gonna be the best of both worlds. Now, a lot of players will tell me, Clay, I'd love to have that nice high backswing, but I'm just not flexible enough. Well, what it is we're not flexible enough if our shoulders don't rotate and our arms rotate flat. So if I feel like, again, I'm turning flat around my body, this is already very tight for me, and my shoulders haven't rotated much. That would be an incredibly short backswing, and I feel really tight in my chest. Like it's almost like even cramping up here in my left pec because it's so tight. Well, that's because I've rotated the wrong way. Now notice what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna feel like that elbow comes off my chest, and instead of my hands going back this way, my hands are going up. At the same time, I'm just gonna move my hips. Let my hips turn, and all of a sudden, I've got a lot more power. I've gotten a lot higher in my backswing, and it actually feels looser through my chest. I could actually hold this position here for quite a while without wearing out. That's what gives you a lot of good power. So it's grab something off this top shelf up here like a hammer, and then from there, I'm gonna rotate my body. That's when the elbow is gonna tuck in. You're gonna be hitting it really hard when you do that. So watch this one here. I'm gonna go ahead and do one the wrong way, which is fold the arm. And then on the next one, I'm gonna do it the right way. So here's the wrong way, arm fold, no shoulder turn. I hit that one absolutely as solid as I could. Felt like $1,000,000, but again, it's not very consistent. Even though it felt like I was doing less, that was a weak slice. Carried at 190. Swing speed went all the way down, 20 miles an hour slower on that swing. So not only was it fools you, it feels more consistent, but in reality, it's not more consistent, and it's a whole heck of a lot weaker. Now I'm gonna do that kind of arms up, shoulders rotated swing, like I'm grabbing something off that top shelf and then rotating through. Let's see how that one works. A lot more power, and again, a lot more club head speed, nice little tight draw there, straighter path, or straighter ball shape than the one before. 24 miles an hour more club head speed, 311 yards, almost 100 yards, over 100 yards farther carry. So it's just being an athlete. If I don't rotate my body that way, I can't be athletic. Now, another misconception with this, the second piece of this, is feeling like, I've lost my tee here. Need to grab my tee real quick. Got so much power, I'm blowing the tees off the hitting area. But here when we're making our downswing, we actually want to get that right shoulder coming through the shot. So when I've loaded up, I get everything turning behind me. As I go through, I'm rotating everything through. When I did that kind of lever action, it's like nothing moved. My shoulders didn't move and everything just folded up and unfolded. Again, seems simple, it just really doesn't work. Instead of that fold, unfold, where my shoulder doesn't move, I want to turn my shoulder back, grab something off the shelf, turn my shoulder through the shot, and the key here is to feel like your right shoulder's facing the target when you come on through. Let's give that a whirl. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing, grab something off the shelf, rotate through. Oh, it actually thought I hit a little ball there, must have read the club moving through. When I come through, I'm gonna point my right shoulder as far as I can to the target. All right, let's try one out here. There we go. Not gonna hit one a lot better than that. Nice little draw again. You look at those three shots, they're almost overlaying each other. There's three separate shots there where I had the good swing. Again, high club head speed, 370 yards, Very consistent smash factor. Everything was really nice and solid. So it's about getting rid of that little lever action with the arm and letting your body rotate. That's the true secret to having power. Now, when we're doing this, we can't just throw the club at the ball to square the face. So when I throw the club, this face closes, but that's exactly the wrong thing to do. I want to feel like as I rotate through, I have a little shaft lean, some lag, and then release that out in front, and the face squares up through rolling the club face. That's something that I can teach that to you in the tennis racket drill. You see, high handicappers and middle handicappers square the face up by doing this. Tour players square the face up by doing this. I want to teach you the way the tour players are doing it. So it works with every single club in the bag, works exactly the same. From a wedge to a driver, you're going to want to have this same move. I call it the tennis racket drill, and I'm going to walk you straight through it here. I'm going to play a preview of that video here in just 1 second. Just go ahead and click the card that pops up on your screen. If you don't see that card, don't worry. Go down to the description below, click the link there, and I'll walk you through this tennis racket drill. So we've got our body moving in the right way now. We've freed everything up. Now we got to get the face square so we can get that ball nice tight draw every single time. Let's go ahead and get started on the tennis racket drill right now. I can't wait to walk you through it. Good player problems. We're going to talk about shallowing that club shaft out as we're starting down, as we're doing this rotating of the face that we worked on in the last video. As we start this downswing, what you'll see with basically all of the top players is instead of coming kind of over the top and letting the hands come out away from their body, letting the club come out away from their body, again coming down steep into the ball and then having to open up, kind of fillet open the face and add loft to it. The flattening of the shaft should happen as soon as we start down. So as we start this downswing, what we want to have happening here, you can imagine that if I draw a line from the hosel of my club up through my right elbow, that's my swing plane line, my elbow plane. As I go to the top of the swing, I'm going to be slightly above that. And then as I start down, I want my hands to start to shallow out. I want the club to shallow out inside of this elbow plane. And at the same time, I'm going to be